students, today's topic is a surprise topic. It is American democracy promotion in the Arab Gulf states. And it is based on my PhD dissertation, PhD thesis. As you can see in the first slide, the number is 3.4. 3.4 means it is in the third chapter, subheading 4. Okay, so I start with this. So democratization. What is the difference between democracy and democratization? Democracy is the phenomenon. It is the phenomenon. It is something. Democratization is the process. Democratization is the process. So democratization is a process through which democracy spreads, democracy flourishes, okay, through which societies and institutions become democratic. It is the process, democratization. And many actors, many organizations, many countries in the world, they assist democracy. They assist democracy. They promote democracy in various parts of the world. And for this purpose, they have different strategies. They have their goals. They have their tools. And in different ways, they help other people to democratize. Okay? So in my PhD study, in fact, I studied how the American government and the American civil society assisted the Arab Gulf states for democracy, for human rights, for political reforms. Do you know Arab Gulf states? How many are they? How many are the Gulf states? Arab Gulf states. They are 6. They are 6. Anybody can name them? Arab Gulf states? Saudi Arabia? Okay, I will take that. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, and Oman. Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, UAE, and Oman. These are the 6 Arab Gulf states. So this was my PhD thesis, and it was very interesting. I really enjoyed it. And that is the reason I thought I should share my research findings with you. And it will help you a lot in understanding your course, Democracy, Theory and Practice. And it will also help you understand various aspects, various dimensions of democracy. And many people view democracy as something in a very narrow sense. Many people look at democracy in a narrow sense. Democracy is a very broad thing. Democracy is a very broad thing. It has so many aspects. It has so many meanings. It affects us, our lives in so many ways. Okay? It is not only about elections and parliaments and parties. It is much more than that. Basically, it is rights. It is our freedoms. It is our relations, social relations, community relations, relations between the community and the state, society and the state, relations between the citizens. All these are aspects of democracy. So here in the details, you will learn more about this. Many scholars have written about the American role in democratization. Among those scholars are Talbot, Rubin, Way, Bunce, Walchik, Brands, Laughlin, and Zahim. These are among the writers who have written on this topic, American democracy promotion. They discuss how the US played roles in Europe, in Latin America, and in other parts of the world. Promoting democracy has been a key part of US national interest throughout the 20th century. Americans have been promoting democracy abroad throughout the 20th century. It is considered a basic value of the United States. Promoting democracy is considered a basic value of the Americans. It has shaped much of American foreign policy. Critics of American expansion argue something important. Critics who criticize the American expansion. American expansion means American colonialism or American imperialism. So they say that if America becomes an empire abroad, it will harm democracy both abroad and inside the United States. Why? How? If America will colonize other nations, will it be democracy? It is undemocratic to colonize, to conquer, to invade, to occupy other countries. It is undemocratic. So if Americans colonize, obviously it will go against democracy. It will harm democracy in other countries as well as in the United States. President John F. Kennedy said in 1962 that America had a historic duty. America had a historic duty. John F. Kennedy, American president, said. He said, America must either watch freedom fail or help freedom succeed. America must either watch freedom fail or help freedom succeed. President Ronald Reagan said something similar. He said Americans were watchmen on the walls of world freedom. Americans were watchmen on the walls of world freedom. President Carter also pushed for human rights and democracy globally. President Carter. President Wilson wanted to make the world safe for democracy. Wilson. New conservatives later mocked Wilson for this focus on democracy and human rights. New conservatives are less democratic. New conservatives are less democratic. They mocked, they laughed at Wilson, who put so much emphasis on democracy and human rights. The Americans often, the United States often sees promoting democracy as part of its identity and mission. Many American leaders justify foreign policy through democratic ideals. Through democratic ideals, they justify their foreign policy. Many debates exist inside the United States about promoting democracy abroad. Some argue that pushing democracy can create problems. Pushing democracy in other countries can create problems. Others say long-term global peace depends on it. some of the Americans, they argue long-term international peace depends on promotion of democracy. No, it was last part of chapter 3. The next part is chapter 4, the Bush administration. So far, we have talked about the period before the Bush administration, George Bush, before 9/11, in other words. Now we are going to discuss American democracy promotion under George W. Bush. And he became president in 2000. And soon after he took over, 9/11 took place. You know 9/11? What happened on 9/11? In which year? 2001, yes. So when 9/11 took place, there was a shift in American foreign policy. So that shift is partially discussed in this under this topic in this chapter. The Bush administration strongly supported democracy promotion after 9/11. Many American leaders believed that lack of democracy in the Middle East contributed to extremism. Why? Why President Bush wanted to promote democracy in the Middle East? Because many American leaders believed that lack of democracy in the Middle East, in the Arab world, contributed to extremism. They thought promoting democracy could reduce future threats. They thought promotion of democracy in the Middle East would reduce threats to America in future. The Bush government created new policies to encourage democratic values in the Middle East. Created new policies to encourage democratic values. Democratic values means human rights, humanitarian values. They said democracy in the region would help bring peace. Bush said Middle Eastern people deserve freedom just like people in other regions. He criticized the idea that Arabs are not ready for freedom. Some people had been arguing that some states, some societies, some nations, they are not fit for democracy. It had been an argument. Still, some people may argue, still now. But George Bush criticized this. He criticized the idea that Arabs are not ready for freedom. He said thinking like this is pessimism and condescension. Pessimism means hopelessness. When there is no hope, it is called pessimism. So it is pessimism, George Bush said. Condescension. Condescension means arrogance and considering yourself superior. So if a democratic nation argues that certain other nation is not ready for freedom, it is not fit for democracy, it means the nation considers itself superior and considers the other nation as inferior. So George Bush said, thinking like this, if you think that Arabs are not ready for freedom, it is pessimism and it is condescension. The US government connected democracy promotion with American security. So they created a link between American security and democracy. They said they are linked. American security is linked to democracy in the Middle East. 9/11 made the administration rethink its approach to security. Condoleezza Rice. You know who was Condoleezza Rice? She was the Secretary of the State under George W. Bush. Secretary of the State. Who is the current Secretary of State of America? Currently, who is the Secretary of the State of America? No, it's not good. You are students of political science. You should know. It is important. Marco Rubio is currently Secretary of the State. Secretary of the State's Foreign Minister of America. Its title is Secretary of the State, but actually it means Foreign Minister of America. Okay. So Condoleezza Rice was the Secretary of the State of America when George W. Bush was the president. So she explained that and I think she was the first black lady, first black American who became Secretary of the State. And she explained that the US spent 60 years choosing stability over democracy in the Middle East. Choosing stability over democracy in the Middle East. She said the US achieved neither stability nor democracy through that old approach. Before that, before 9/11, many Americans would argue that if you push democracy in the Arab world, the people will throw the kings away and there will be civil wars. There will be a lot of bloodshed. So the region will become unstable. You know, unstable? The region will become unstable. There is stability in the Middle East due to the kings. Due to the kings, it was argued. It was argued. So many Americans, they thought and they argued that you should not ask the Arabs to have democracy. So Condoleezza said, in last 60 years, we believed in we promoted stability, borrowed stability, but we achieved neither. Neither there is stability nor there is democracy. She announced that the US was now supporting democratic aspirations of all people. Condoleezza Rice, Secretary of the State of the United States of America, she announced that America was now supporting democratic aspirations of all people. All people mean all nations. A fact sheet from the State Department said US policy was based on human rights, democracy, and rule of law. The Bush administration used 4 types of institutions for promoting democracy in the Gulf. Number 1, the US government departments and their branches. Number 2, private American organizations under public-private partnerships. Number 3, international institutions involving the United States, like BMANA. BMANA means Broader Middle East and North Africa. Broader Middle East and North Africa. It is an organization. And the American Kuwait Alliance, AKA, American Kuwait Alliance. And number 4, local Gulf organizations. Local organizations in these Arab Gulf states, in these 6 countries. So the Bush government, the American government, used these 4 types of organizations for democracy assistance in this region. These institutions included both bilateral and multilateral groups. Bilateral and multilateral. Do you understand the difference between bilateral and multilateral? If 2 countries are involved, it is Bilateral. If an organization has two countries as members, this organization is but bilateral organization. If an organization has more than two countries as members, it is multilateral or multilateral. Okay. So just we have talked about American Kuwait Alliance. American Kuwait Alliance. It has two members, America and Kuwait. So it is bilateral. United Nations, is it bilateral? No, it is multilateral. IMF, it is multilateral. Using all these different institutions helped spread activities across many areas. The US also redesigned democracy promotion structures. The three major initiatives were launched. The Middle East Free Trade Area, MEFTA, it was launched after 9/11. The broader Middle East and North Africa initiative, BMANA, it was also launched after 9/11. Number three, democracy assistance programs. MEFTA and BMANA mainly focused on economic reforms. You know, economics is also, economy is also an aspect of democracy. Economy, economic rights, economic freedoms, okay, economic openness, democratic economic values. Programs run by Middle East Partnership Initiative, MEPI, Bureau of Democracy, Human Rights and Labor, DRL, and USAID. USAID. What does it stand for? USAID. United States Aid for International Development. United States Agency for International Development, USAID. Some people say it's USAID. So USAID or USAID. So these three organizations, these are the DRL and the USAID. No. All programs which were run by MEPI, DRL, and USAID, they focused on political reforms, education, and women's empowerment. In the Gulf, MEPI and DRL were active, while USAID did not play a major role in the Arab Gulf states. But they were working in other parts of the Middle East. Middle East, you know, it is a broader area, Middle East. After the 9/11 attacks, the US government changed its thinking. Democracy promotion became the main part of the Bush administration's policy for Arab countries. The administration launched the Freedom Agenda. Freedom Agenda was launched by the American government. This agenda showed a major shift in US foreign policy. Major shift. Some people said this shift rejected almost 60 years of earlier American policy. Before this, the US usually accepted the idea that stability was more important. The US often supported authoritarian governments in the Middle East. This included many governments in the Gulf region. By choosing the Freedom Agenda, the Bush team rejected the idea of Middle Eastern exceptionalism. Exceptionalism means when certain countries are taken as exceptions. If they are not suitable for democracy, if they are not ready for freedom, it is called exceptionalism. So in the past, there were certain arguments focused on and revolving around exceptionalism. There was a time when it was said that Asia and Africa, they are not suitable for democracy. Their cultures are conservative and rigid, and their people are authoritarian, and they want to have masters. So Africans and Asians are not ready, not fit for democracy. It was called Asian exceptionalism or African exceptionalism. But some countries, over time, they became democracies and they became successful democracies. India became a democracy, Japan became a democracy, South Africa became a democracy, South Korea became a democracy. So it meant that these countries could have democracy, and the argument revolving around exceptionalism was not okay. It was not right. It was not correct. So that argument was rejected. Then there was an argument that Arab countries, they are not suitable for democracy. Arabs are not fit for democracy. It is called Arab exceptionalism. It is called Arab exceptionalism or Middle Eastern exceptionalism, when it is said that Middle East is not fit for democracy. So when the American government launched the Freedom Agenda, this argument of exceptionalism was rejected. Are you getting it? That idea means Middle Eastern or Arab societies were somehow not suitable for democracy, exceptionalism. President Bush disagreed with this thinking. He said, the people of the Middle East have a rich civilization. People of the Middle East have a rich civilization. He said they have a religion that teaches personal responsibility. He said Islam teaches personal responsibility, and democracy also teaches personal responsibility. He said they desire freedom just as deeply as Americans do. George Bush said Arab people, they desire freedom just as deeply as Americans desire it. Bush also said it was wrong to think that 1/5 of the world's population cannot have liberty. It is wrong to think. 1/5 means 20%. He said such thinking is negative. George Bush said such thinking is negative thinking. He said the United States should not believe in this pessimism. America should not believe in this hopelessness, pessimism. The Bush administration linked democracy in the Arab world with America's own security. With America's own security. The Bush administration showed seriousness about promoting democracy. This could be seen in the increasing funds. The funds were increased for promotion of democracy in the Middle East, including the Gulf states. HRDF received $48 million in 2005 for promotion of democracy. This amount was only $13 million in 2001. In 2001, it was only $13 million. In 2005, it received $48 million. So 3-4 times more. 22% of these funds went to the National Endowment for Democracy, NED, National Endowment for Democracy. Under the Clinton administration earlier, only a little more than $5 million was given for political aid in the entire Middle East. Entire Middle East is a broad, very large region. There are 20s of countries, dozens and 20s of countries in the Middle East. There were other kinds of funding, but they were also small. In 2002, two State Departments bureaus, bureau means office. Bureau means office. Two State Department, you know, what is the State Department of the United States? It is the Foreign Office. State Department of the United States means Foreign Ministry, Foreign Office. You know, Pakistan has a Foreign Ministry and Foreign Office. American State Department means American Foreign Office. In 2002, the two State Departments bureaus committed $29 million for democracy. $29 million. MEPI means Middle East Policy Initiative, allocated $143 million for the Middle East for 2003-04. So you see, more and more funding was being provided for democracy in the Arab world. Out of this, $35 million was set aside only for democracy support. Many exchange programs were carried out. Exchange programs, you know, what is exchange programs? Exchange programs. If some people from Pakistan go to China or to the United States for a visit, for a trip, or for a course, for a training course, for a workshop, or if some people from China, they come to Pakistan for a trip, for a course like that, for a workshop, it is called exchange programs. And they may be students, they may be teachers, they may be business people, they may be common citizens. Okay? These are called exchange programs. So many exchange programs were carried out. It means Americans came to the Middle East, to the Gulf countries, and people from the Gulf countries, they went to America. These were the exchange programs. Some exchange programs are taking place between Pakistan and China, you know. Some people from our university, they are visiting the United States, China. So, and there is a good news for all of you. Yesterday, I think, the government of Pakistan has signed a contract with the United States of America. Under that program, 10,000 students from Pakistan will go to America for PhD in 10 years. 1,000 every year. And there will be 1,000 scholarships every year for Pakistani students to go for PhD to the United States. And similarly, another 10,000, they are talking to China, they will go to China. So these are the knowledge corridors. So 20,000 scholarships are waiting for you. You just complete your BS and then you go do your MPhil, and then you will have these opportunities. There are many other opportunities as well. After completion of your BS, you can go to foreign countries for your higher education. There are many scholarships available. And activities took place in different areas and sectors. (4.1). It is the first subsection of chapter 4. Goal, objectives, approaches, strategies, and tools. The main goal announced by the Bush administration was to fight the root causes of terrorism. You know, there was a commission, 9/11 commission was formed after 9/11. That commission probed, investigated the 9/11 events, and it published a report. It was a lengthy report. In that report, it was found, it was pointed out that the terrorists belong to some countries in the Middle East, some belong to Saudi Arabia. And it was argued that because there is lack of human rights, there are human rights are violated in the Arab countries, and there is no democracy, and it breeds terrorism. Lack of human rights and democracy breeds extremism and terrorism. So it was argued that America should promote democracy and human rights in the Middle East so that American security is strengthened. To improve American security, to address the threats to American security from the Middle East, America should promote democracy over there. These causes were seen as coming from the region, from the Middle East. The goal was directly connected to America's security interests. When we look at the Advancing Freedom and Democracy reports of May 2009, we find important objectives. Improving human rights conditions in all 6 Gulf countries. It was mentioned in those reports, American reports. Empowering women in all 6 Gulf countries. Empowering women. Improving governance. Improving governance. For Kuwait, the wording was different. Instead of improving governance, it said reducing governmental cronyism. You know, Kuwait is, in terms of human rights and democracy, it is better than other 5 Gulf states. In Kuwait, a constitution was introduced several decades ago. Elections started in 1963 in Kuwait, and Kuwaiti parliament is much stronger than the parliaments of other Arab countries. So political system is better in Kuwait. That is why the wording used in the American reports for Kuwait was a bit different. For the other Gulf countries, the objectives used. Sorry?
What is governmental cronyism?
Governmental cronyism, yes. Cronyism means favoritism. Favoritism. For example, the people who are in government, they favor, they provide governmental benefits to their near and dear ones, to their friends, to their family members. It is called cronyism. So, governmental cronyism, to reducing the cronyism means that reducing favoritism. Clear? For the other Gulf countries, the objectives used words like rule of law, transparency, responsiveness, accountability, and oversight of governments. Oversight of governments. Another major objective was building and sustaining democratic institutions in the Gulf. Building and sustaining. Building and sustaining. Building and sustaining democratic institutions. Kuwait was again different because it already had some democratic institutions. Kuwait already had some democratic institutions. For Kuwait, the focus was on democratic stability and accountability of democratic institutions. Accountability of democratic institutions. The reports also show more objectives: promoting civil society, judicial reform, judicial independence, political participation, more engagement of citizens. More engagement of citizens. The reports also show attention to human trafficking. Anybody knows human trafficking? Human smuggling. Trafficking means smuggling in Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, and UAE. And strengthening religious freedom. Strengthening, improving religious freedom. These were the objectives. These reports help us understand the official US goals for democratic promotion in the Gulf, the US priorities for human rights and democratic governance, US democratization methods. In earlier periods, the US used open propaganda campaigns before 9/11. These campaigns aimed to create political awareness. The US funded many radio stations. Radio stations are used for propaganda. Propaganda is not always negative. Propaganda can be positive. Okay. For example, if we propagate human rights, is it a negative propaganda? No, it's a positive propaganda. If we propagate democracy, it is not always negative. So, in our society, the word propaganda is a very bad word. It is always considered as a negative thing. Okay, so propaganda is not always negative, or it is not always bad. Sometimes it is good. So the US funded many radio stations such as Radio Free Europe, Radio Free Asia, Radio Free Iraq, Radio Free Iran, Radio Marti in Cuba. The US also funded political opposition groups, yes. For Cubans. This radio was meant for Cubans, so that Cubans listen to it and they start liking democracy. Cuba, you don't know Cuba? Cuba is a country. Cuba is a small country in Latin America. It is a socialist country, socialist communist country. Fidel Castro was their famous leader. Then he died, and now his younger brother is the leader. So, okay, the US also funded political opposition groups. The US also supported exiled dissidents. Approach of the Bush administration. Under the Bush administration, radio stations also targeted the Gulf region. But still, the US approach toward democracy in the Gulf stayed mostly covert, not open. It was not open. The Bush administration did not threaten the governments in the Arab Gulf states. It did not try to remove them. It did not try to change the regime. Rather, it focused on bringing change at the grassroots level. The approach was based on gradual change, bit by bit. The approach was peaceful approach. It was not a military approach. Democracy was implemented in Iraq through military means. Do you know this? Saddam Hussein was removed and elections were introduced. Okay? So it was through military means. It was a covert approach. It was an open approach, overt. In the Gulf countries, it was covert, peaceful, at the grassroots level, gradual. The central idea was to work at the grassroots level. Colin Powell. You know, George Bush was re-elected in 2004. He enjoyed 2 terms as the president. So, in his first term, who was the state secretary of the state? I have told you. Who was the secretary of state in his first term? Condoleezza Rice. And who was the secretary of state in his second term? Colin Powell. Colin Powell. He was also a black American. Colin Powell. Colin Powell explained this idea at the launch of MEPI. He said, any plan for the Middle East that ignores political, economic, and educational underdevelopment will fail. Will fail. He compared such a plan to building on sand. Compared such a plan to building on sand. He compared such a plan to building on sand. Why grassroots approach made sense? Why grassroots approach made sense? Some people in the region said democracy should not be imposed from outside. Democracy should not be imposed from outside. They said people will not accept it if it comes from abroad. They argued democracy must grow from within. So the people feel ownership. So the people feel ownership. These arguments mainly came from governments in the region. Governments in the Arab Gulf states in the Middle East. Mainly they argued that change should come from within. It should not be imposed from outside. But the Bush administration still considered them seriously. Bush government considered these arguments seriously. Ground reality supported a peaceful, slow approach. Ground realities supported a peaceful approach, a slow approach. The US was already fighting 2 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. The America-Afghan war started in 2001, and America-Iraq war started in 2003. Starting another war was unrealistic. So starting another war in the Gulf countries, it was unrealistic. Gulf regimes were friendly to the US. Saddam Hussein, was he friendly to the US? Saddam Hussein, was he friendly? No, he was not friendly. So America waged a war against Saddam Hussein. But the governments in these Arab Gulf countries, they are friendly to America, to the Americans. So America did not have to start war against them. They did not cause direct problems for the US. Gulf oil flowed to the US without interruption. Afghanistan and Iraq were not friendly. Afghanistan, Mullah Umar and Al-Qaeda, they were not friendly. So America attacked. Use of force and its limits.
क्या और वो कंट्री जो अमेरिका से फ्रेंड में नहीं होगा अमेरिका उसके साथ वार ही करेगा?
It can. It is not essential. It is not essential that America will start a war, but it is possible. It becomes possible because America was attacked on 9/11, and they thought Al-Qaeda has launched these attacks. And where were the Al-Qaeda leaders? They were in Afghanistan. Osama bin Laden was in Afghanistan. America asked the Afghan government to hand him over to America. They said, no, he is our guest. We will not. So America attacked. America attacked Afghanistan for Al-Qaeda. So similarly, Saddam, he would issue statements, harsh statements against the Americans. He would threaten American interests in the Middle East. So America attacked Iraq to remove him. Use of force and its limits. The US removed the Afghan and Iraqi regimes using force. The administration said this was necessary for US security. It also said the action helped liberate people from progressive governments, from repressive governments. Repressive. But the motive of those invasions is not assumed to be democracy promotion. In the Gulf region, the US used diplomatic efforts. The US offered trade benefits and applied conditionalities. Gulf regimes were encouraged to open their systems politically and economically. The aim was to make these systems participatory and representative. You have already studied participation, participatory, and representation. Diplomacy and partnerships. The US worked with Gulf governments at the bilateral level. Coordinated diplomacy was a major channel for democracy promotion. The US used public private partnerships to improve the impact of programs. Examples include MENA Business Women's Network. MENA means Middle East and North Africa. And Vital Voices. These are organizations. The administration encouraged American NGOs to work with local reformers. Individuals demanding human rights and reforms received support from the United States. Tools identified by Levitsky and Way. These are scholars. Levitsky and Way are two scholars. They list many tools used by democracy promoters over time. Number one, incentives for elites in developing countries. Number two, democracy assistance programs. Number three, activities of transnational democracy networks. Number four, diplomatic pressure. Number five, political conditionality, bilateral or multilateral. Number six, punitive sanctions. Sanctions, pabandiyan. Number seven, military pressure or military intervention. These are different tools which democracy promoters use to promote democracy in other countries. The Bush administration used the first five tools in the Gulf, first five. The last two tools were not used. Sanctions and military action was not used in the Gulf. Use of soft power. The administration used soft power tools, sanctions, and military action. These are hard power tools. These are hard tools. So what are these soft tools? Persuasion. Persuasion, to convince someone, to convince politely, okay, with argument. And shaming. Shaming, sharam dilana. Sharam karo. कहते हैं ना sharam karo. It is called shaming. These tools included persuasion and shaming. These tools were also used earlier in Central and Eastern Europe. In Central and Eastern Europe. The administration also used civic education and propaganda strategies. Other tools used by the US included exchange programs, public diplomacy, training programs, funds, and conditionalities. Conditionalities were attached to the Middle East Free Trade Zone proposal and global US aid related to governance. In 2002, US aid was increased by 50%. What time is it? 10:48. Okay, we stop at 150. It is 144. We stop at 150. In 2002, US aid was increased by 50%. Okay, we stop here. 145 departments, programs, and initiatives involved. We stop here. Okay, Ji, with this we conclude this session. If you have any questions and comments,